today. So beautiful.
I know, right? So, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. You close your outer eyes so that we can go into the inner beingness of us. And we begin to take some deep breaths. Breathing in and breathing out that beautiful breath of God. Allowing ourselves to become still, to feel and to know that presence and that power of God. With each breath, we open our hearts, we open our minds to that infinite presence of divine love. And while we're breathing and relaxing, I invite you to bring into your mind someone that you so dearly love and appreciate. This person lights up your life. They mean the world to you. And when you think about them, that energy, that pink love light energy in your heart just expands as you breathe in that breath of God. God is, I am. God is that presence, and you are that expression of that presence. You know how much this one means to you. Now multiply that by about 1,000 and you'll begin to have an idea of how much the presence of God in you loves you as you are. Looks to you to express your love into the universe, to share that light, to be that love that you came here to be. Feel how strong that love light is. You radiate divine love as you focus in on that center of you, that God lives in that secret place of the Most High. And you radiate that out as you feel that and know that and believe it and claim it. It is as real to you as every breath you take. We affirm, as I radiate divine love, I draw to me all that belongs to my highest good. When you are radiating that divine love, especially when you send it out to those who you struggle with in relationships, if you can see them as the love that they came to be, remember the oneness. Remember, God is, I am, and so are you. No matter what we're walking through. So I invite you now, as you think about those ones that need your love, we rest now in a few moments of stillness with spirit in the silence. Divine love flows through us now, harmonizing and blessing every part of our lives. When we choose to live from that expression of divine love, we will find so much good radiating right back to us. We will be the magnets of love in our lives because we're living it, we're seeing it, we're believing it, we're speaking it, we're choosing it in every moment. And so it just comes back to us like the mighty magnets that we are. And so we're grateful for this knowing. We're grateful that we can be that love expression. We can be divine love in every situation if we so choose it. And so we say thank you, indwelling Spirit, for this truth, for this knowing. And we choose this day to move forward, being that love that we came here to be. And we're so grateful. And now we bring our attention back into this room. And whenever you're ready, just open your beautiful eyes. Don't you love that slide? The mightiest magnet. So I want to tell you a little story about many years ago. I was taking classes at Unity Village. Now, this is the time at which there was no beautiful five-star hotel or how many ever stars there were. This was the old motel. I know Richard and Mary remember that, some of you that went to Unity Village early on. So when we were gathering, we were in cottages in the motel, those of us that were taking classes there. And my friend Bobby, who I've told you before about that had the impossible list for a man. So Bobby was my gal, my friend from Austin that traveled with me, and she bought me and gave me a beautiful book that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But one of the things that happens is when you're in that SCE, they called it CEP back then, in those classes, there was a community room that was a gathering spot. And we would go into the community room, and there was a piano there, and we would sing, and we would bring pizza there, and we would eat, and we would study, and we would work on projects together. And there was a photograph hanging on the wall in that community room that was an amazing photograph. We have a slide of it. Now, I want you to look at that. That's the Unity Tower. This is a photograph that Myra Cox took in 1983. Do you see that? Do you see that, Angel? Well, the story is that in 1983, Leo Buscaglia, right, who wrote all the books about love, was at Unity Village giving a talk. And the belief is that that's Myrtle Fillmore. Wow. Is that not the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen? So Myra had these photographs. She had them framed and hanging in the community room, and I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I was just like, that is an angel. And then I heard the story that people thought that it was Myrtle Fillmore because she loved when people talked about love. So in my mind, Myrtle's creating a little cloud angel above us today because we are all about the love today. I just had to share that with you because I had to buy that and bring it home, and it hangs in the office. So anyway, I've never seen anything quite so clear as that ever before. I just thought it was so beautiful. I couldn't stop staring at it. So thank you for showing that. We have an ongoing theme for this month, and our November theme is I am grateful. So let's say our affirmation together. I am alive in the energy of gratitude, and I'm grateful for Myra Cox. I'm grateful that she happened to be there in 1983, just at the right time to take that photograph. because any of you that have been to Unity Village, it's just an amazing, wonderful place. That the energy there, it's like a vortex of love. And so if you ever get a chance to go through Kansas City to the Lee Summit area, that's where Unity Village is. It's about 40 minutes outside of Kansas City. So we are in the latter part of our adventures in faith. We're in our 6 weeks of our series where we're studying Sacred Abundance, which is a book by Robin Ryder. I hear your groups are going very well. I'm so excited that you're still enjoying being together. So I want to review real quickly. I'm going to see if you can remember. Week 1 is put God first. Week 2, in God all things are possible. In week 3, who listens? The universe listens was week 3. The 4th principle was lighten your load. And then last week, the 5th week, she actually titled the chapter, Give Up Hope for a Better Past. And I just made a talk about forgiveness because that's what the whole chapter was about. So chapter 6 is about the transforming and attracting power of divine love as the highest vibration in the universe. And we know this is true. So she calls it the mighty magnet. The mightiest magnet is what the name of this chapter is. And I want to tell you that one of the quotes in the very beginning of this chapter is a quote that comes from May Rowland. And there was a beautiful portrait of May Rowland hanging in the first floor before you go into the Silent Unity. So I always had to stop and say hello to May Rowland. She was a beautiful soul, and she was the director of Silent Unity from 1916, the year after she got out of high school, to 1971. So how someone is so good at a year after high school. The Fillmores needed some help because Silent Unity was growing so much and they couldn't do it all by themselves. All those letters were coming in. People needed help writing letters. They needed help. They wanted people to pray for them. So May Rowland went in there and did that. And I want to read you something that she said. If you are not attracting the good that you desire in your life, learn to express love. Become a radiating center of love, and you will find that love. The divine magnet within you will change your whole world. So there's a little story that goes along with this, and you can find out a lot more about her. There's a fabulous picture, but there's a copyright on it, so I couldn't bring it and show it to you today. But if you go to truthunity.net and look up May Rowland, there's a fabulous picture of her. But there's a little story that goes along with that, was that, she was young when she started this work, and she got some really difficult letters for prayer. And so the first few times that it was really, really tough, she took them to Charles Fillmore. She went to Charles's office and asked him about him. So the first few times he, gave her what advice he could give. And then the next time that she came, he said, May, the mind of Christ is in you as well, so use it. So he did it a few times, and then he was like, go to headquarters. He always said, go to headquarters. And so anyway, I just thought that was interesting. The Christ mind is in you, so use it. So when I was trying to figure out what scripture I wanted to use to base this lesson on, there's just so many wonderful scriptures about love in the Bible. I really could not come to just one. So I'm going to share some of my favorites with you. The 1 John 4:16, you know this. God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. I love that so much because it doesn't need a metaphysical interpretation. If you read those words, you know what it means. Abide in God. Live in the love that you are. Live in the God that you are. Live from your Christed beingness is what that is all about. And then you will be the love, right? So 1 John 4:16 is a good one. The next one is from Colossians 3:14. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. So think about that word binds. Woo! The magnet pulls to it that which it shows up as, right? Binds to it. So when you clothe yourself, when you live from the love that you came here to be, you draw more of that. And then what? You create love and harmony in your life, in the life of your loved ones. It draws it to us. And then the last one is from 1 Corinthians 13:8, where Paul is giving such magnificent advice in Corinthians about love. You know, there's so much about love in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians. It says love never fails, but in some of the Bible interpretations, it says love never ends. I love both of them, but I especially love never ends. So Paul's advice, you know, if you read a little bit further down from that scripture to the end, that's where he says, you know, hope and faith and love is the greatest of all of these, right? Because love is that healing, harmonizing presence. So each of these verses reinforce that love is the ultimate creative and harmonizing energy, that we need to be that love every day. We need to show up as that. So let's talk a little bit about what is the nature of divine love. Well, I believe it begins in principle 1, which is what? God is all there is. God is omniscience, all-knowing. God is omnipresent, present everywhere in all things, right? And omnipotence. God is omnipotence, all power. We call these the 3 O's of God. God is all of that. So God is in all things, and that means God is in us. So it's one of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore discerned, that there are 12 faculties that make up the God energy, right? And we are all of those as well. And he says it's not an emotion, it's a spiritual power. You know, we think of love as being an emotion, but it's not just that. It is the unifying energy of the universe. Charles Fillmore called it the great harmonizer. And the magnet, Charles actually called it the magnet of the universe. And it's because love is that binding force of creation. It holds the atoms together. Gravity, y'all, it's all about love. And it draws things into right relationship. It draws all good to us. When we are being that, we are seeing more of that. It's our principle 1. God is all there is. God is absolute good, everywhere present, in all things. Even if you don't like the looks of it, even if you don't like what you're experiencing, God is in that too. And there's something we're taking away. It may not be a lesson. We're thinking, okay, I got enough character, God. I don't need another lesson. But you know you do, because your soul wanted that. You came here to learn in this earth school, right? You signed up for this. And so I want to tell you another little story about Unity Village. When I was taking classes at Unity Village, my friend Bobby that I was talking about gave me a book entitled Laws of Love, and it's by Margaret Pounders. And so I was at a conference, and I want to say it was Mark Hicks. I can't remember, but there was another person from the church in Texas that I was serving at that was at this conference. And we were in that beautiful community room in the hotel. And it was like a reception, and people were going around introducing themselves. And this person, whoever it was, took me over to Margaret and Frank Pounders. Now, they're both Unity ministers. They met in Unity and married and served in Texas. They're married 60 years, still serving in Texas, y'all. Still serving in Texas. So Margaret Pounders wrote this book, Laws of Love, and I absolutely loved it. And Bobby knew, so she bought it, and she wrote this little thing in there for me. So I want to tell you that she has a chapter in that book called Creative Expression. And this is what she says. Think about a flower growing through concrete. You notice that all the time, don't you? Cracks in the sidewalk and something coming through and blooming even sometimes. How often have we walked along and observed a flower or weed pushing its way through a broken spot in the sidewalk? How powerful life's urge to express itself. If there is a way, a single crack in the armor, love's creative force will find it. If a simple flower has within it the tremendous need to express, then what of the human being? Can you imagine the capacity that we have to love? If a flower or a weed can do that in the crack of a sidewalk? So remember the forgiveness work we did last week? That is all about loving yourself. Loving yourself and loving the person that you think you have a grudge against. That's just ego, right? So it's all about the love, and we're here to express more of that. The gift, we give that gift of love to ourselves, not for the other person. We forgive because we need that. We need that to heal, to live from that place. And so love is always the answer. You know, if you're going through anything in your life, I don't care what it is, prayer with love attached is what is the answer. It doesn't really matter what you're going through, if it's health or if it's relationship or it's financial, whatever it is. Love is always the answer. So it's really about also our other principle is principle 3. So what is principle 3? God is, I am, I think. So what is it that we're feeling? What is it that we're thinking? What is it that we're saying? What are we, with our powerful chakra, saying out into the universe? That's powerful. We can think it, we can feel it, but if we say it, be looking for it, y'all. It's going to come because you're creative. Love is creative. Love in you is creative. And so the mightiest magnet is also the law of attraction in divine order, happening as you would so choose. So Jesus demonstrated that love attracts healing, peace, and abundance. He lived it and tried to show us how to do it. He said, love your enemies, bless those who curse you. He lifted the consciousness of divine compassion. He could only see a child of God in everyone. He could never see anyone less than. It didn't matter what they had done or what they had said to him. Think about him hanging on that cross, forgiving those people for what they had done. He never saw anybody less than. So when we lift our consciousness in love, we become a magnet to all that reflects divine harmony. Because you see, fear, resentment, and judgment, they repel it. They keep it away from us. They make our heart heavy, don't they? If we're holding unforgiveness in our heart, we feel sad. We feel sad, and so that's why we have to do the forgiveness work, because that love attracts and brings to us what we need. So the magnet of love works through principle 3, which is the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So what we think about, we bring about. So if we're thinking about love, guess what? We're going to get more of that. So I love how Spirit works. I was going to my bookcase for Leo's book. I wanted to talk about Leo's book in the opening. I was going to my bookcase. I think I was sharing this in staff meeting the other day, that I was going for Leo, and instead, when I got up there, it was the B's, right? Buscalia. Right next to that was Eric Butterworth. I have them alphabetized in my case. And so there jumps out, life is for loving. You can't make this stuff up. Life is for loving, Eric Butterworth. And I thought, oh, okay, let's see what wisdom that Eric has for us today. So this is what he says. dwell often on our oneness with God and also in this consciousness of oneness in love with our brothers and sisters, then it will be true in a way that is dynamic and powerful as we sing, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me." It will begin with you. And it will go forth from you in waves of love energy, reaching out to the world with the transcendent influence that will lead to a union whose attainment is the only business of nature. And it will come about because of your own love affair with God. Does that not make your heart happy? Whew. He also says earlier in the chapter of the book that the work of our life should not simply to be a doing, it should be to be a being. If someone asks you what you do, he said, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm a minister, I'm a carpenter, I'm a teacher," you should say, "I let God be God in me. That's what I came for." So how do we live as this magnet? How do we live every single day like that? How do we do that? So the first thing is we're not here to get love. We're here to be that, right? We're not trying to have a to-do list about how to do it. We're here to be the beingness, the Christ beingness. So these are the practical steps. You ready? There's 4. First one, use your physical eyes to see with the consciousness of God in expression through you. So you see everything with eyes of love, irregardless of what it shows up as. See with the eyes of love. Look for the divine in everyone. Use your Christ vision as Jesus taught us. That's your job, number 1. The second one is speak words of love. You know when you run up upon somebody and they're gossiping about someone else? Do not engage. Send them light and love and go along your mighty way. I have to tell y'all, my granddaughter facilitated her first Youth of Unity event in Georgia last weekend. And my daughter-in-law told me that Mila shared a little tidbit. You know, we haven't had much time to sit down and talk about it. But she said Mila passed by 2 teenagers and they were talking politics. My granddaughter walked up to her and said, "You know what? This is not the time and place for that. We're here to get close to God in us." Wow. I'm a proud grandma, just have to say. Speak words of love. So affirm harmony and kindness and understanding and pay attention to what you express because your words have vibration. Your words are powerful. You are co-creating with God in every moment. So you want to think before you speak because you know what happens. You can't take it back, right? Once it's out, it's out. And that's it. So the third one is act in love. Be the love. Serve. Forgive. Uplift other people. Be kind, like Cindy is in the hospital giving out cases and cases of kind bars at Moffitt. Be kind. Be loving. Hear people. See people. Don't just walk past them. Talk to the clerks in Walmart. See them. Uplift everybody. The fourth one is meditate in love. Now, this is really important. This is what Butterworth was talking about. When you meditate, you do like what I was doing earlier today. You go to that place of love and appreciation in your heart, and you feel that center of God that is in you, that is so powerful, that love that you are, and you think about that. Think about just going and sitting out in nature and focusing on a tree that is just magnificent and just seeing that and feeling that connection. You know that we are one with all there is. And so you have to practice feeling that in your heart, and then you'll know it, and then you rest in that awareness with all life, and you keep yourself as centered as possible because we need to stay centered right now. This is important. Our world needs us doing this mighty work. And if you're all running around willy-nilly doing your to-do list and not thinking about God and not thinking about your job here, who do you think's going to do the work? We're here to be that light and to be that love. So as we live this way, we naturally draw to us peace and harmony and prosperity and health and right relationships right to us with ease and grace, you see, because we're being that. I don't know if I have time for another story. I don't think I have time for another story. I'm going to have to skip this one. So our challenge is, I'm looking at the time going, woo. The problem is that we have often, when we have a trouble with someone else, we focus on what's wrong with them. And the author talks about this in the chapter. Instead of focusing on what we don't like about them, how they, they're like fingernails on the chalkboard. Yeah. We can't focus on that. We have to find something that we like about them, and we have to focus on that. We have to keep focusing on that. Because if we learn how to radiate pure love and unconditional love from our hearts to them, transformation can take place, and it can happen in a jiffy. Doesn't have to take a long time. So when we live in the consciousness of divine love, we become a mighty magnet for good. We attract peace and joy, abundance, and right relationships, because life is not just what God does. Love is what God is, and that's what we are too. All right, enough preaching, time for a joke. So there's these two guys, and they're a little bit down on their luck, and they need to earn some extra money, so they decide they're going to paint houses. So they go to the local minister and asked him if he would be willing to let them paint his building, and he said sure. So they're heading to the paint store, and while they're walking around getting the paint, they're talking to themselves, and they're thinking, if we mixed half water with the paint, we could increase our profits a little bit. So they mixed half water and half paint, and they went back and they did the job. The minister came out, they showed, they finished, they brought the minister out, and he said, it looks really good, thank you so much. And he gets out his checkbook, and he's beginning to write a check, and a small rain cloud passes right over them. And then all of a sudden, there's thunder and there's lightning coming out of the sky, and the rain begins to pour, and the paint begins to dribble down the walls. And suddenly the three of them are shocked. There's a mighty, mighty voice coming out of the heavens, and it says, repaint, repaint, and thin no more. I love that joke. I thought that was so fun. Okay. Repaint, repaint. So the closing for today is this wonderful little booklet, Love, Healing, and Abundance, Bringing Spiritual Wisdom to Life. Unity has so many wonderful gems that they're out there. They're free if you'll just take them home. We have gobs of free materials out there for you. This is Winifred Hausman, and she's quoting Charles. She says, as Charles Fillmore explains it, love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere and in everybody. It insists that all is good, and by refusing to see anything but good, it causes that quality finally to appear uppermost in itself and in all things. It is not necessary for us to like all that we see in the world. That's not what we're saying. We do not have to agree with the wrong things that people do, okay? But regardless of appearances, we must love the Christ or God in all persons and all things. We must do this because it is our true nature to love because He first loved us. And that's the way it is, folks. Namaste. Thank you. All right. Now we get to give from our good into this beautiful community that is expanding rapidly, and we're so grateful for all the ways in which you share your gifts with our community. So we take our gifts in our hands, or we bless them if we've already sent them in automatically. We say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so.